I became Chief Operating Officer 2.5 years ago. And in this time, we grew from 11 million users to 120 million users.
Vugar, COO of Bitget, you have done so many things in your life, from policy administration. You are a PhD in economics. You have done advertisement. You have done consulting. You have built businesses, exited out of them. And I love the way you defined that you didn't come to crypto to make money. You came to crypto to maintain money and help the industry make good money.
I come from a marketing background. I know how to promote and sell products. And I always believe first you need to sell, then build, not build and then sell.
I come from India. 1.4 billion people, over 700 million have internet access. Second biggest base when it comes to the blockchain industry, and one of the biggest in terms of crypto wallet base. What's Bitget's plan for India?
India is Indian household and Indian women. They're the largest gold collectors in the world, right? This is the biggest gold pile in the world. What hurts my heart is that India could become the next Bitcoin nation. If Indian women had enough chance to invest. Think about it.
Like one key takeaway that people learn about you from this podcast, how do you want yourself to be seen after this podcast? So I'll make sure that...
Sexy and single.
Perfect. So,
No.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Quantum Minds podcast. My name is Kapil Dhiman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Uranium. And I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Olivia Karlsson, for yet another groundbreaking episode of Quantum Minds. Today, we are joined by somebody who has had such diversified experience before jumping into the crypto industry. And after jumping into the crypto industry, he has again redefined what quality investments look like. Please welcome Vugar, COO of Bitget.
Thanks for having me. It's a very exciting place to be at and time to be at, I believe.
Thank you so much, Vugar, for taking out the time. And, the first thing that I really want to do, and we were just discussing about it, you have done so many things in your life, from policy administration. You are a PhD in economics. You have done advertisement. You have done consulting. You have built businesses, exited out of them. The most amount of investment that you have done is like really shaping yourself as an amazing professional. And that's what you brought into the crypto industry. And I love the way you defined that you didn't come to crypto to make money. You came to crypto to maintain money and help the industry make good money from your experience. Please explain.
Exactly. I think always the biggest goal is not to lose. That was because I come from a Middle Eastern family, right? You have to be the good boy. You have to make your parents happy. You have to have the best education. You have to work the most stable job. And I've done it like in the first half of my life. I made my parents very happy. But then I was like, okay, now, because I believe in a relationship, family is also like the way of investment, right? Friendships are a very big investment in the life. And that was the whole ethos of my life, first half of my life, about making others happy. But then I realized that also making myself is important. And then I decided to take risks. Coming to crypto is pretty large risk, especially for someone who went to Harvard and worked for Bain and had it kind of an all, right? Coming to a place where every day is a completely new day. Every day you start from zero. One day you are very busy with legislators. The other day you need to do, a huge smart contract that will touch millions' life. Or another day you just deal with a customer complaint because they did a risky trade and lost it all. And I think that's a very, life-defining journey for me, but I'm very happy where we are at today as a company, or I'm as a professional, because you rarely see someone in crypto who comes from a traditional background, because it's a very hard transition to do.
Exactly. And that's why, of course, we're going to be talking about your journey in crypto, but I really want the audience to know your life before. Philosophy, public administration, economics, advertisement. Please, if you can take some time to talk us through your journey before, what all you have done, your experience there, because I really want the audience to understand what you bring on the table for the crypto industry. You're not just yet another guy who came in crypto and made the money. You're really somebody who holds a lot of weight. If you can please take us through your journey before crypto.
Definitely, but I think I want to give like a what is the action result that then people maybe will be interested what I have done before. Like I became Chief Operating Officer 2.5 years ago, and in this time we grew from 11 million users to 120 million users, and all these small bits and pieces of knowledge and experience I had throughout helped actually us to achieve this. Because first and foremost, I come from a marketing background. I know how to promote and sell product, and I always believe first you need to sell, then build, not build and then sell. And that was one of our key approaches in growing our business. Secondly, I worked for social media giant like Facebook, and probably people know what happened with Cambridge Analytica scandal and all the privacy and data, which motivated me to go back to education, do my master's in public policy. And today, Bitget is one of the most compliant companies. I built our entire compliance team since I joined. We are actively acquiring a lot of licenses globally. We have more than 26 licenses today, making us, a step ahead than our competition. And of course, if I didn't have that knowledge and education, I wouldn't be able to do this. Eventually, I knew how to build a company. That's why Bitget is not only fast-growing company, but we are very profitable. We break even in all markets. It means we don't lose money. It is crucial for any business. Today, we have more than 188% of all the customer funds. Basically, if today all 120 million customers decide to take all their funds out of the exchange, we will have 88% more funds, making us very liquid. We have $750 million worth protection fund in order if something goes wrong, we have money to reimburse. And all these aspects would never be possible if I didn't have this very important journey. And one key element in my journey was that because I used to consult at Bain, one of the largest consultancy firms, I can kind of always take myself out of what's happening in everyday life in a business and then look with the second eye and try to understand what we are doing well and what we are not doing well. And this is very crucial, I believe, in our industry. Because industry is very competitive, and for people, especially the entrepreneurs who watch me today, we usually focus what others do and what others do good because we want to replicate. But at Bitget, our strategy was looking at what is missing in other services and how we can bring the customer something that is missing, and which propels us to a huge success in a very short time.
And which part you mentioned about the consulting, if you had to choose, it's not going to be like a straightforward one, like, okay, this is what kind of triggered the impact that you created at Bitget. But of course, there are a few pieces of your journey that always stand out. If you had to name a few that you applied in your journey at Bitget, which in 2 years 10x'd the customer base, that's huge. That's literally huge.
Actually, like not only just 10x'ing the customer number as a number, one of the key motivations was because Bain is one of the biggest knowledge producers. It's not just like going and consulting on a business. The problem of unbanked people don't have access to the banks. I never knew how huge it is, especially when you live in advanced economies. Bank cards come to your doorstep. You never even think about how it's hard, but then you go to Africa, Indian subcontinent, even Latin America, and you see that people don't have bank accounts. They don't have an access to physical banking facilities. This was one of the biggest triggers. We wanted not to build a crypto company. We wanted to solve problem of people being able to participate in economy, get salary, spend your money. And that's why we were able to build something that is beyond just your crypto trading. And I can talk more about that, how we partnered with Mastercard to bring card solutions, Bitget Pay. This is one of the very key and crucial points. Another important aspect was when I was at Bain, we were consulting one of the world's largest banks to build their own blockchain private network. And at that point, I realized how huge the opportunity is, especially if the banks that in public are completely against crypto. And I'm telling you, like many years ago when JP Morgan and everyone was telling that, crypto is bad, we will never touch Bitcoin. But on the background, they were accumulating Bitcoin. On the background, they were building blockchain technology. And that was my trigger to understand that this is a true future. If people in the front are so against it, in the background, they adopt this technology, why not to go and build something big? Because then we can compete and then we can actually make something better or challenge what is in there, because people you would see on a TV that they talk very bad about Bitcoin. They were like, oh, it's bubble, I don't know, gonna burst, it's a scam, it's Ponzi, on a background building a technology on blockchain. I was like, wow, this must be the next big thing.
That's really interesting. And I think, you touched on a lot of points that I'm sure that we'll cover more of. I'm just wondering from an educational standpoint, if we're addressing this sort of retail or the market of unbanked citizens out in the world, a lot of them won't be aware of the risks. They won't be aware of the volatility of the market to begin with, right? Is there something that Bitget does to kind of mitigate this?
When we talk about unbanked people and blockchain as a technology, I'm not talking here crypto as an investment vehicle, right? It is just maybe 10% of what technology can do. Let's think about, I don't know, someone in Cambodia or India or Azerbaijan or Nairobi who is a woman who has some sort of skills and connection to internet, maybe a social media manager, maybe a designer, but she doesn't have means to leave her home. She doesn't have a means to leave her home. Maybe it is because of her kids or family situation. I think the blockchain technology is like a missing part, because now she can work online, she can accept payments on her wallet, right? And today at Bitget Wallet, we have a Mastercard partnership where you can literally get your digital card and tap and spend it anywhere, wherever you want. It gives most vulnerable population, right? Women, it can be LGBTQ communities, disabled people who can actually work without leaving their home and participate in an economy. In a normal setting, these people don't have an opportunity to open a bank account. Usually bank accounts cost you monthly fee. You have to probably have a huge commute to town center, depends where you live. And all these barriers are kind of eliminated because you can, with one click, open your crypto account, whether it is an exchange, whether it's custodial wallet, and start accepting payments and start spending money. If on top of this you decide to invest, it's really good, but you don't necessarily need to. And I think that is one of the key elements about education in crypto, that it's not only about making 10x, 20x money. It's about how you can participate in economy. I think even though, because there was always huge returns, right? We always knew about friend of a friend of a friend who invested $100, bought a Ferrari the next day, but it's only like, I don't know, 0 something percent. I never saw that guy, unfortunately. I wish I knew that guy, but generally, I think we need to look from the perspective how it can help. And today, for example, we have Bitget Pay. We onboarded more than 100,000 merchants from Latin America to Southeast Asia, enabling merchants to accept payments. Why it is important? If you do payment through any card issuer, Visa, Master, Amex, the merchant pays around 1.5 to 3% commission, right? It takes around 30 to 60 days to actually merchant to receive the money that we paid. It means every coffee we buy, merchant only gets the money after 60 days. When you pay through Bitget Pay using crypto, settlement is instant, fees almost zero. It's like 1-2 cents. It solves the merchant's cash flow issue. It enables merchant to give 1-2% cash back and bonuses to the user, because actually the buyer is the one paying that commission, right? It's translated to the end user. And that's how we challenge the traditional markets. And that was the main reason why for a long time banks, large investment firms were against crypto. Yes, today we are very happy that institutions come in, but institutions also come in for the competition, right? Because if you can't beat it, you adopt it. And that's how we see it. But for last 10, 12, 13 years, that was the biggest, I think, advancement that's happening in the background that no one talks today. No one talks because it was always about, oh, Bitcoin is doing better than any other, investment vehicle. Yes, it does, and it is great, but it is not the only thing that blockchain technology does.
You made a very interesting point, and I want to double click on that. The purpose and the vision of Bitget is to create education, awareness, and as well as create infrastructure to solve problems using crypto as a technology. Investment in it is an after effect. That's a very counterintuitive statement, right? Because Bitget's business as an exchange is trading and as a revenue source, for example. So how do you see these pieces coming together? And then I have a follow-up question about that superhero of crypto that retail users get attracted to, the imaginary superhero who bought a Lambo. So we'll talk about that as well, because I think that's a very important piece for the retail users to get educated. But first, the first piece, if you can talk about.
It's a $1 billion question. And it's undeniable fact that, crypto is always been about money making. Mm-hmm. In Turkey, we say when you count money, some sticks into your hands. And that is the very effect of crypto. And whenever you are in this industry and whenever you open an exchange or any chart and you see some, coin or token doing 10x, 20x, definitely you'll be interested, right? It is kind of being in a money Disneyland. You see the money growing everywhere, which is completely okay. Bitget is, of course, we are the number one copy trading platform. We are the heaven of the trading. We have more than 200,000 professional traders who don't only trade, but post your trades for other people to copy. We are definitely the leading trading platform, especially if you're a retail trader. Today, we have Get Agent and AI that helps people to make a better investment decisions. It is completely there. It's always been there. But if you notice, I told that in last 2.5, 3 years, we grew from 11 million users to 120 million users. We grew 10 times. And our goal is not to go and bring another 100, 200 million traders. Probably the world doesn't have 1 billion traders. There will never be 1 billion traders, and there shouldn't be 1 billion traders. How we can grow, right? If in next 2-3 years, I want to come back here and tell that, we onboarded first billion users in crypto and we did that adoption. We need to think about billion people. What do? They buy coffee, they take, commute, they order food, they buy gift to their loved ones. And every time we do buy something, whether it is online or offline, we do transaction. And as an exchange, as an ecosystem, we think about every transaction you make and how we can put it on chain. Let's think about 10, 15 years ago. To buy an air ticket, you'll go to airline's office. To buy a taxi, you have to call or stop in the road. But then every business became an online business. Today we buy our own tickets, we check in online, we order food online, everything went online. And I think in next 5 to 10 years, everything will be on chain. Whatever we can put on chain will be on chain. And that is very important turning point in history. And that's what we are getting ready for. As a company, we don't want to go compete with your other exchanges, your Binance's, OKX's, Bybit, very good friends. We love, and I love how the competition made this industry great. But we want to go actually compete with your Mastercard, with your Stripe, with all the other big players out there to be the super app. And recently we announced that we don't want to be any more a centralized exchange. We want to be your universal exchange. We want you to be able buy, sell, trade, invest. That is everything tokenized, everything on chain, whether it's your US stocks, whether it's your gold investment, whether it's, real estate. The opportunities are so vast there. We should never be kind of thinking from a narrow angle. And I believe in future, we will be talking less and less. The same way that trading is niche, right? The trading stocks is niche, especially if you are doing a day trading. I believe day trading is a job. And we shouldn't be promoting it to everyone that you have to come and trade. What you have to do is dollar cost average, long-term investments, definitely have an exposure to crypto, definitely invest a lot on Bitcoin because it is digital gold. It does better than any investment opportunity out there. But we don't think that, billion people should come and everyday trade.
No, that's so interesting. And I'm just thinking from looking at where the industry is going, so many assets are being put on chain. We're talking trillions of dollars with a huge CAGR. What are your thoughts around security? Because, ultimately this is our area of, or our cup of tea, but would love to hear your thoughts a little bit around that.
Sometimes I feel I'm very controversial because today's security is very important, right? It is the core of everything we do. But what is happening globally, actually security today or attacks today became like a warfare, right? The governments intelligence agencies are involved. Bybit got hacked by North Koreans. It is no more a corporate matter. And I think more and more, the way we work with legislators to build the legislation, the government should support the businesses in overcoming all these big aspects of safety and security. At Bitget, we never had any serious breach or security issue. And I always say, not because we're like a lucky bunch of people, we actually have very strict protocols in place. That's how we could overcome this. But we are also very pragmatic. We understand, because how serious the matter is, we understand that, no matter what you do, even if you do everything great, there are chances that you can become a victim. And therefore, we have our protection fund, mainly consists of Bitcoin, USDTs, and USDCs. We even don't have our BGB involved. We promised to keep it at 400 million level. Today, it's like a 750, 760 million. Making sure that if something ever goes wrong, no matter what, we have enough money to refund our customers. But also, I want to kind of zoom out and talk about what happened in the beginning of the year with our colleagues at Bybit, right? They got hacked for $1.5 billion. It is first time in any industry, not only in crypto, in entire financial system. We saw that how Binance, Galaxy, and of course we were the first one to jump in, lend them 40,000 Ethereums, that they can not go out of business. In banking, you don't see it, right? Silicon Valley Bank went down, Credit Suisse went down. So many banks, when they go down, central bank calls the other competitor, asks them to buy them, or the banks get bailed out. And that's how the industry worked until today. But we changed the narrative, and first time ever, I believe, in this kind of an industry, we realized that we don't have a big brother. There's no central bank. There's no government to bail us out. We have to help each other. And I think the FTX case was such a big learning for everyone. This year with Bybit hack, I think as an industry, we showed that every user, every entity is there that safety and security is not only about how to prevent it, but what is the remedy measures we have in place. And I think it is a good learning lesson that crypto isn't as dangerous as it used to be.
And is that a business decision, Vugar, to prevent Bybit from going down when the industry came together? Is that a business call, or is that in the spirit of crypto industry at large and no business expected? The reason I asked that question, if Bybit goes down, for example, after the hack, the trust of the retail user in every other exchange also starts going down. To prevent that from happening, was that the reason the decision was taken, or irrespective of it?
It is definitely one of the reasons. Second reason is, I believe, ethics, because we believe in a healthy competition, right? If you are running, you don't want to everyone break their legs that you and you finish first. You want to have that. The competition is a beautiful process. That's how we build. But the decision-making process at Bitget was not about, if they go down, what happens, or what is about competition. Our idea was, do we compete with Bybit? Probably if you are in crypto industry, you have Bitget's app next to Bybit's, next to Binance's, next to OKX's. People have exposure to at least 2-3 exchanges at the same time. We don't want to go compete with other exchanges user, because probably they already use us too. Our idea is to bring people outside, the way we bridge Web 2 to Web 3, the way we want to go and compete, bring neobank users to have a direct exposure to their portfolios, the way we build institutional grade solution to bring your BlackRocks and Vanguard. All of this has nothing to do with going and hoping that if a competitor goes down, 5-10 more million users will come to our exchange. It won't change neither like a money-wise our business, nor will contribute to the growth that we expect. If we are talking today 10x growth from 120 million, it's 1 billion user. And Bybit doesn't have a billion user. And no one else does, right? To bring that billion user, because the biggest players is Binance, they're around 220 million. It means we need to bring new people. We need to educate more people. We need to motivate more people. And Bybit going out of business will not put any butter on our bread. And that was our logic, that we don't compete with, we love the competition. We definitely build, but we are not here to someone go to down of the business that we take their users. And that is not the ethos. But that is the ethos of traditional financial business, right? If you go today to talk to any large bank CEO that I have done this, they would say you're stupid. But it's not only in bank, right? If today you go to talk to the a restaurant owner or coffee shop owner that, oh, would you bail your competitor out? They're like, am I stupid? But that's not how we do it, and that's not our vision. Our vision is very, very, way forward. If we think about what we're going to happen in 20, 30 years, and in that big trajectory or in a grand scheme of things, a competitor going down has more negative effects than positive.
There are two things which are playing in my head right now. One is globally, if we put our industry on a horizontal landscape, we are together. Like this is a classic example that you took, right? We look at 20 years down the line, support each other to make sure more and more users come on board. So when that has to be decided, whether it is Binance, Bitget, Bybit, any other player in the industry, they'll come together, think together, and we'll do a healthy competition within. But regulatory-wise, there is a lot of disparity. Do you think that creates, the answer is going to be yes, but what kind of challenge does it create to this ethos that we as an industry has together to globally bring in more users, but regulatory disparity kind of creates some bit of hurdles there?
Honestly, I don't agree, because I think of like Olympic Games, right? You need to have this fair play. You don't have to use like a doping. You have to make sure that everyone has same access. But definitely someone has a better coach, and someone has a better, physiotherapist, and someone has a better nutrition plan and bigger sponsors, and which definitely affects the outcome of the competition. But still, having that fairer ground is important. The way companies approach regulations is very different, because there are companies that want to be anywhere and everywhere. There are companies that do pick and choose. Because in my opinion, let's say licensing, right? Going and collecting every license out there is not the smartest decision, because then you'll be spending too much on legal fees, and probably there are markets that so small that actually doing that licensing and paying $500,000 per hour lawyer fees would never translate in return on investment. Then maybe you have to do a very smart decision that, okay, this is the 5 markets I really want to be. I want to go all in where I want to compete, where I want to bring the local value, and these 5 countries or 5 markets I don't want to operate. And that's a very different approach, right? The way you want to do it in a kind of a longer term. And another important factor for me, like when we talk about like a fair competition, or kind of where this horizontal becomes like a deeper connection, I think that's the moment. But also let's not forget, for example, there are so many areas of cooperation happening, right, among the exchanges. There are huge cooperation when we talk about AMLs and anti-money laundering or anti-drug deals, that entire industry comes together. We work with each other to make sure that we take that bad players out. We kind of clean out the industry. We partner a lot with authorities to make sure that we go against organized crime. And this is definitely not on a opposite end where we need to kind of, we close the doors, we don't talk to anyone, we kind of build the next big thing behind the closed doors. I think opposite way is much easier when you have an access to each other, when you can talk to each other. And when today a user gets a victim of a phone scam and some money is moved from, let's say, Binance to Bitget, our teams talk to each other, we work with an authority to make sure that we do the right thing. And this kind of cooperation wouldn't be possible if we didn't do it in between each other, because again, we don't have a central bank. We don't have this big governing body who comes and tells us what to do. Even when you look back 4 or 5 years ago, like Bitget and all the big players, we start doing KYC and KYB because we decided that it's the right thing to do. No one came and mandated it to us. Yes, later the legislation came, and still there are so many countries that don't have a legal frame. There's no legal obligation, but today all 120 million users of Bitget, they are KYC'd. We exactly know who they are, where they live, what they do with the money they come, where is their source of funds. We kind of set a standard for ourselves because there's no one to do, and it's a very hard thing to do. It's like kind of more of a self-discipline.
You know, I really have to ask you this question, because when I was speaking with my friends, and I told you that we have the opportunity to have you on the podcast today, This is a common question that came from everybody. I come from India. 1.4 billion people, over 700 million have internet access. Second biggest developer base when it comes to the blockchain industry, and one of the biggest in terms of crypto wallet base. What's Bitget's plan for India?
What is Bitget's plan? Actually, I travel to India a lot. I just been there like last month. We work with authorities, not only just to get the licensing process in, but we've been also like the authorities were taking a lot of advice from us in terms of the building legal frames. I have like my own opinions, but definitely I am not an Indian. I don't have a kind of a say in this, but as an observer, or if I had a chance to advise, I always give one example. India is Indian household and Indian women. They're the largest gold collectors in the world, right? This is the biggest gold pile in the world. And I think what hurts my heart is that India could become the next Bitcoin nation. If Indian women had enough chance to invest, think about it. Because Indian women are the decision-making power. They are the financial powerhouse of every Indian household. And they're the wisest, in my opinion, because they've been doing it for years, right? If only they had a chance. Today, India would not only be the nation that is seen as a developers for others, they could definitely be the leading that competes with both leaders of the world. And I think still the opportunity is not fully missed. And I always say that, whenever you do a legislation, whenever you bring someone in the play, like how you can give the right tool to the right people at the right time to change lives. And I think that is a very important opportunity in there. And for everyone listening, I think that's what we need to talk about, because it doesn't matter what Bitget does in the market. We do a lot of things. We bring the wallet product. We have an exchange. But also for me, like in last year and a half, I know a lot of like wealthy Indians moved to Middle East because of the regulations. I know almost all large developers' minds. I don't want to name the names, all my friends, but they moved to Middle East because they wanted a better environment to develop. And today when we talk about India, yes, the market is important. It's like a 1.5, 1.3 billion people, right? It's a quarter of the world. Everyone wants to be there. It's a market that you can't bypass. You can't tell that, oh, legislation is hard, I'm not going there, or it's expensive or it's cheap. You are there as a business. It's very important to be there. But there are a lot of missing opportunities, both becoming the next powerhouse to develop or becoming the crypto nation. And it also hurts my heart to see almost all global leaders are run by Indians, right? And most of them, whether it is Google CEO or Microsoft, most of them are the first generation migrants. They are not, like, you can't come and tell that, oh, like, it was an American education. No, probably they were educated in India and they went to America and they became the CEO of the $1 trillion company. Why it's not happening in India, right? And I think that's a very important question. Everyone in India should ask, whether you are working for tech industry, whether you are making policies or you are the legislator, you should always think about not that 1% that we will charge everyone when they deposit. It should be about what we can do. People make more money, because if they make more money, they will definitely pay more taxes, build better opportunities for everyone else. And that is a missing opportunity. From a single housewife to the CEO of a $1 trillion company, everyone could take such a big profit out of this industry without even trading, right? But that's all missed.
I think this is one of the finest explanations somebody has given about the Indian market. Trust me when I say that. And this is a clip that I'm going to play on repeat for my mom. Right? Like the Indian women, the angle that you have given about from gold to digital gold, I think that's commendable. Like really, this is going to play in repeat in India.
And also, like, think about it. Like, you remember I talked about like unbanked people and participation in the economy, right? They could do it without living from the home, right? It is the one thing you could do it. You don't have to even go to the gold store. That's a huge opportunity there.
Wow. I really love the way you connect the dots, Vugar. So I'm curious, what shapes your mindset, your individual mindset, right? Because those are the things, your mindset, your philosophy, that creates each of these touch points that we have talked about. Whether it is taking Bitget 10x, whether it is expansion, whether this is this very small anecdote about the Indian market, for example. It is so unique. So what shapes your mindset? Who is Vugar as an individual and what drives you?
I lived a lot of time, like most of my life in UK and US. And in these both places, culture is very different. Like usually people, first question they ask you is like, what do you do? And that question puts your image in their mind, right? Which tax bracket you fell, what kind of a background you are, or what kind of respect you deserve. And I always hated that. And this is my kind of a trick whenever I'm in a party or talking to someone. They keep asking it, and I will always try to not tell what I do for work and define myself in a different way, which eventually shaped who I am because I love to travel. I've been to more than 100 countries. Today, thanks to my job, I travel almost like 250 days a year. And my favorite act to do is to observe. And there are cities that I really love to go, like Paris and Tokyo. And not because that, food is definitely great, people are beautiful. But my favorite thing is to sit in a cafe and think how insignificant my presence is here. I don't touch people's life. I am just an observer and the life passes around me. And this observation, when I can take myself out of equation, gives me more creativity and more ideas rather than putting myself in a center. Because usually when we travel, we always want to have, a lone picture with no people in the background. We always think that we are a better tourist than other tourists. We hate other tourists. I don't know. Whenever we have the food, we want to have the most exquisite experience. You go to Paris, I don't know, you want to have the most perfect looking croissant and perfect weather, and we will complain if it rains, we will complain if our train is late, and all this because we think we are so important, right? But actually we are not. Think of that city's life. Your presence, other than, I don't know, 5-10 tourist dollars, has nothing to do. The same way you go to a bazaar in Mumbai, who are you? No one. Yes, you can buy one thing, but your impact is so insignificant. And I'm sure people are watching me and they think about butterfly effect and all this other theories. But when you take yourself away, then you can do things much, much different. Then you can think about not yourself as the center of everything happening. And I think that was another important aspect. What we do at Bitget is about not thinking about ourselves. For me, I always say, for example, whenever we do promotion in the company, we always think you have to develop the next generation talent. Who's going to replace you, right? You don't think that, you are promoted, you'll get promoted, you get to the next step, you are very excited about it, but you are never excited what you are leaving behind. And that became a corporate culture for us that before you leave, you have to help us to find your replacement. And then you think about not only where you are going, but you also where you come from. And this is like two aspects kind of where you can take yourself away and look what's happening or observe to build a better product. And this is really, really helping us.
Wow, there's so many different things I would want to say about that. I love the way that you look at the world. And I also love your ability to kind of detach yourself and be the observer to enhance growth and things like that. Super inspiring. I'm thinking, would love to understand a little bit more for people that are curious about their own self-growth and they want to, expand, whether it be, investing in their health or well-being or relationships or crypto, whatever it may be. Do you have any advice where people can start? Because sometimes people procrastinate because they feel like it's an overwhelming task in their mind and they just see the delta of where they could be and it overwhelms them. Do you have any advice or insights here?
I'll give you two parallel examples, right? First and foremost, I believe everything is an investment. If you invest time to go find a nice restaurant, you read the Google reviews, you check the menu, you look at the photos on Instagram, or whether it's friendships, right? You have to call, get in touch, arrange a meeting. But same applies to the investing, like a financial investing. And I always say first goal should be not to lose. Your first goal in any investment should be not to lose. How do we lose money? Simple, inflation. It means your next goal in investing should not be about doing 10x growth or buying that Lamborghini. It should be, what is inflation in my country, right? If you are in Turkey, probably it's 90%. If you are in US, 4%. go check what is inflation in your country. That rate is how you lose your money. Basically, every time you get your salary or you have your profits, inflation is you lose money. First, your goal should be, what can I do to compensate that? If 10% you lose on inflation, this is 10%, you need to do something to get more 10% on top of your investment to make it to that loss. That delta is 10%. Your second goal, if you are succeeding in this is your first step, then you have to move the second way. What is the most safest kind of an investment out there? Probably S&P 500. Another 10% year-on-year return on investment. Now, your goal should be not to lose first 10% and make another 10% on top of it. If you can do these two things, you are already a good investor. Your third step could be either as Indian housewives, a gold, or a real estate. Definitely, probably you won't have like a huge chunk of money to buy a real estate, but you can check what is the real estate return on investment. If you can beat the real estate market, then you are a brilliant investor, right? This is first was inflation, second was S&P 500, third was real estate. No matter I'm in crypto, I always talk about importance of real estate investment because there was a quote by Mark Twain. It said, whenever you have a chance, buy a land because they stop making it. Same applies for Bitcoin, by the way, because it is limited in supply, right? 21 million. It means they're going to stop making it. You have to also accumulate what is really, really limited. And for the people listening, even though we talk a lot about gold, gold is almost unlimited. And every time they discover new mines, they recently discovered a huge one near Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Therefore, gold supply is not limited, but Bitcoin is limited. That's why we call it like a digital gold, and probably the price will always go up. As we talked, there's like a three aspects. There's one definitely a winner in this investment is this Bitcoin. In last 10 years, if you look like kind of a zoom out, you don't look at the daily volatility, Bitcoin was doing better than S&P 500, definitely than your inflation, and definitely the real estate market, even in as big cities as London and Singapore and New York, Bitcoin is doing better. The logical kind of aspect became, if you do just dollar cost averaging of Bitcoin and you kept accumulating, probably you could easily do first three tasks I told you. And only if you are succeeding in these, I would recommend you diversifying your portfolio, exploring other coins, doing investment, probably having more exposure to RWAs, individual stocks, and all the other investment vehicles out there. The problem is that people try to jump to the last stage without doing first three stages. Mm-hmm. And then they get either frustrated because a lot of things needs to be done, a lot of knowledge needs to be accumulated, or they just take too many risks and they kind of fail. And now going back to, as I mentioned, if you randomly walk down to the street and get any restaurant without a reservation, chances that you might get a good meal and you might get the worst meal out there is almost equal, right? Same applies for the friendships. If you want to have these besties that you take a road trip together, you can't just take a random person and go on a road trip and expect that road trip to be the best trip of your life. You need to nurture that relationship, have this long-term friendship, know what they like, what they don't like, where you match, what is your interest. And only after a careful planning, that vacation of the lifetime can be the picture perfect. And therefore, that investment can only be picture perfect if you follow all the steps. And therefore, my single piece of advice in any sort of investment, never skip the step.
Wow. I think that's the best conclusion we can have for this episode. Thank you so much, Vugar.
Thank you very much for having me. And yes, just go invest and never skip the step, I guess.
Actually, never skip the step. That's very, very, very important. Thank you so much, Vugar. Thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you. We learned a lot. I'm sure the audience who's going to watch this episode will love it, will learn a lot. Any last message that you want to give? Of course, this has been like a mic drop moment, but it's like I'm being a little greedy here because you're so thorough and you're so thought-provoking when you kind of talk about these things. Any last message for the next generation, for the youth who's now coming into crypto?
As we talked about not skipping the step, and as we already mentioned about Lamborghini, never look up to other people's story. I think that will be a good example. never be in a hurry and just try to improve yourself, whether you are investing, even if it's like a $5-10 investment on Bitcoin every week or every month. That's a very big step for you, rather than thinking and taking a huge risk because someone else did, and even if they succeeded, you might not. Therefore, thinking how you can improve your life standards, your investments, your education is much important than looking up to someone who did a huge leap forward.
Yeah, so spend less time on Insta, read more books.
Definitely.
Thank you so much once again, Vugar.
Thanks
We
for
really
having me.
enjoyed the conversation with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode of Quantum Minds podcast with Vugar. Stay tuned for more. Take care. Bye-bye.